The Galactic Council convened on Unity Station, its chamber filled with the hushed murmurs of 1,000 species. High Chancellor Vlor, a luminescent being from the Ilari Collective, projected his image across the vast hall. His voice, usually a gentle chime, resonated with uncharacteristic gravity. For centuries, the Terran species, humanity, has proven itself a formidable, if chaotic, force. Their technological progress is undeniable, their adaptability unmatched. However, their methods in interstellar conflict have proven unsustainable for galactic biodiversity. Effective immediately, by unanimous vote of the Grand Council, humanity is hereby banned from direct military engagement in all interspecies conflicts. On Earth, the news was met with a mix of outrage and grim acceptance. Admiral Jianli, head of the United Earth Defense Force, UEDF, slammed his fist on the holographic table. They want to neuter us. After we saved the Ilari from the Thraxian swarm? After we put down the Forlag hegemony? We saved their hides. General Alistair Finch, a seasoned veteran, simply sighed. Jian, we did turn 3 habitable worlds into irradiated glass during the Forlag campaign. And that's just the ones they know about. We have a tendency to overachieve when provoked. The ban, though humiliating, had a kernel of truth. Humans, when pushed, fought with a ferocity that often left little to salvage. The ban wasn't born of malice, but of fear. Humanity's first major galactic conflict, the Thraxian containment, saw them deploy self-replicating nanites that consumed the entire Thraxian invasion fleet, along with 47 uninhabited asteroids. The Forlag eradication involved a bioweapon that targeted only Forlag DNA, but accidentally mutated a harmless flora species into a rapidly spreading toxic fungus on 3 planets. Each human victory was a testament to their ingenuity, but also their terrifying disregard for collateral damage when their rage was ignited. The galaxy had decided humans were too effective, too unpredictable, and too dangerous to be unleashed on an enemy, lest the enemy, and half the ecosystem, cease to exist. Humanity, however, was not one to sit idly by. If they couldn't fight, they would adapt. The UEDF was rebranded as the United Earth Preservation Corps, UEPC. Their battle-hardened fleets were repainted white and emblazoned with a new symbol, a stylized olive branch wrapped around a nuclear symbol. We're not allowed to fight in wars, General Finch mused to us skeptically, but we're allowed to prevent them. We're allowed to intervene in humanitarian crises. And we're damn good at crisis management, aren't we? The new directive was subtle. Instead of fighting the enemy, they would make fighting impossible. Years passed in a fragile peace. Then, a new threat emerged from the galactic rim, the Cthar Imperium. A highly militaristic, psionically linked species, they operated on a simple principle: expansion through total assimilation. Their first target was the peaceful, resource-rich system of Ethel, home to the avian Athelian species. The Ethel, known for their elaborate aerial cities and philosophical debates, had no standing army. Their distress calls echoed through the galaxy, but the Council was slow to react, bogged down by bureaucracy and fear of the Cthar's unknown capabilities. Admiral Lee saw his chance. He ordered the UEPC fleet, now comprising repurposed dreadnoughts and advanced logistical ships, to deploy to the Ethel system. We are responding to a Level 4 humanitarian crisis, he declared to the Council, carefully avoiding any mention of military intervention. The Athelian population requires mass evacuation and immediate structural reinforcement to prevent ecological collapse. The Council, wary of another human-sparked extinction event, grudgingly allowed it. They saw it as a desperate measure, expecting the humans to simply ferry refugees. They were gravely mistaken. The Cthar fleet, a menacing formation of black, angular ships, arrived in Ethel to find the human Peace Corps already there. Grand Admiral Theron, 7 of the Cthar Imperium scoffed. Pathetic mammals playing doctor. Ignore them. Commence planetary assimilation. He watched as the human ships moved. They weren't fighting. They were building. Colossal energy shields, designed for asteroid mining, were erected around the Athelian cities. Repurposed terraforming drones began constructing hardened shelters. The humans were not only evacuating, but fortifying the entire planet with frightening speed. Theron, 7 ordered his fleet to fire on the human structures. Plasma lances, usually capable of melting through capital ship armor, harmlessly dissipated against the newly erected human shields. Their technology is repurposed, but effective, a Cthar tactical officer reported, his psionic link buzzing with confusion. They are also deploying environmental stabilizers, massive atmospheric processors that are making our planetary bombardment systems inoperable due to atmospheric turbulence. The humans weren't directly fighting. They were simply making the Cthar's preferred methods of conquest utterly useless. While the Cthar were frustrated by the planetary defenses, the human transport ships, shielded by fighter escorts that were technically search and rescue craft, began a mass evacuation. They didn't just take the Ethel, they dismantled their aerial cities piece by piece, transporting entire populations, their homes, and even their sacred sky gardens to pre-prepared sanctuaries in neutral space. The humans were not just saving lives. They were saving an entire culture, moving it brick by brick, song by song. The Cthar grew increasingly agitated. They were being denied their conquest, not by force, but by a relentless, annoying act of preservation. Theron, 7 ordered his ships to attempt to intercept the transports, but the human rescue craft were surprisingly agile, weaving through asteroid fields and nebulae with precision. Adding to the Cthar's frustration, the human ships were broadcasting Ilari music on all frequencies, a defiant, beautiful symphony that filled the void where Cthar war cries usually echoed. It was a war of wills, and humanity was winning without firing a single shot. The prolonged stalemate began to drain the Cthar. Their fleets were designed for swift, overwhelming strikes, not drawn-out sieges against a planet that refused to be conquered. Every plasma blast against human shields consumed vast amounts of energy. Every attempt to block transport lanes required constant fuel consumption. Theron, 7 realized with growing alarm that the humans were not just defending, they were starving his invasion. The Cthar Imperium, built on efficiency, was bleeding resources trying to fight a war where no one was fighting back. Cthar mental link chatter grew frantic. Their psionic hive mind, usually a symphony of synchronized thought, was now a cacophony of frustration and confusion. How do you defeat an enemy who doesn't fight? How do you conquer a planet that simply packs up and moves? The humans weren't violent, they were simply stubborn. They were acting like biological termites, dismantling the Cthar's conquest from the inside out, without ever drawing a weapon. Back on Unity Station, the Galactic Council watched the unfolding events with bewildered awe. The humans were not violating the ban. Not technically. They weren't firing a single weapon with offensive intent. They were just really good at disaster relief and infrastructure projects. Yet, they were dismantling an entire Cthar invasion fleet. High Chancellor Vlor felt a new emotion stir within him, a hesitant respect, mixed with a renewed sense of terror. What happens when these peacekeepers decide they've had enough? With a final, massive push, the last of the Athelian cities was uplifted and transported away. The Cthar fleet, exhausted and low on fuel, could do nothing but watch. The planet Ethel was now an empty husk, stripped of anything of value, not by the Cthar, but by the humans who had meticulously removed every resource, every building, every living being. It was a conquest denied, a victory stolen through sheer, audacious non-violence. As the last human ship warped out of the Ethel system, a single, small probe remained. It broadcast a message on all Cthar frequencies. It wasn't a threat, but a scientific report. Analysis of Cthar imperial doctrine suggests a 97% probability of unsustainable resource expenditure in protracted conflicts. Recommendation: adapt or face systemic collapse. Warning: Attempts to conquer other resource-rich worlds may result in similar humanitarian interventions. We recommend investing in sustainable self-sufficiency. The message was signed, the United Earth Preservation Corps. Your friendly neighborhood crisis managers. Theron, 7, his psionic link throbbing with defeat and humiliation, ordered a full retreat. The Ethel system was worthless to them now. The cost in fuel, time, and morale was devastating. They had encountered an enemy they couldn't fight, couldn't conquer, and couldn't even understand. The humans hadn't killed a single Cthar, yet they had utterly crushed their imperial ambitions. The Cthar had never suffered such a complete and bloodless defeat. The Ethel incident sent shockwaves through the galaxy. Humanity had found a loophole in the ban, not by circumventing it, but by redefining warfare itself. They had shown that destruction wasn't the only path to victory. The Galactic Council, once eager to sideline humans, now found themselves consulting with them. The UEDF, still technically a preservation corps, became the galaxy's unofficial and utterly terrifying crisis response team. Aggressive species across the galaxy began to reconsider their expansionist policies. Why invade a world if the Peace Corps would simply move it? Why conquer a species if the humans would just dismantle your invasion with superior logistics and infuriatingly efficient humanitarian aid? The human factor had become an unpredictable element in every strategic calculation. They didn't kill. They simply made your ambitions unprofitable, your aggression futile, and your conquests utterly pointless. The galaxy slowly, awkwardly, began to demilitarize. Fewer species went extinct. Conflict still arose, but now, the arrival of a white human fleet, broadcasting calming Alari music and deploying environmental remediation teams, was enough to make even the most hardened warmonger sigh in exasperation and retreat. Humanity had achieved peace, not through brute force, but through an overwhelming, unwavering, and utterly frustrating commitment to kindness and logistical superiority. On Unity Station, High Chancellor Vlor looked at the latest report. Cthar Imperium requests humanitarian aid for internal political instability. He smiled, a gentle chime echoing in the chamber. They banned us from war because we were too good at it, he mused. But they never said we couldn't be too good at peace. Humanity, it seems, has found its most devastating weapon, the will to save everyone, even their enemies. The galaxy, once filled with the roar of battles, now echoed with the hum of human transport ships and the quiet songs of rescued species.